Hello. So it's Friday, and we're back with One Piece One Takes. So yeah, we didn't have any One Piece One Takes last week because it was a break, but now we're back with One Piece, and it's chapter 1070, and let's just get into it. So the title is The Most Powerful Beings, and the cover story is basically, or the title of the cover story is like Promising Scientists Gathering for the Sake of the World and All Mankind. So I assume it's a flashback, or I assume that it's in the past because this is why we get to see like the whole Mads crew of like, the scientist people with Vegapunk, Sanji's dad, Caesar Clown, a few more people, but mostly them, and they're basically like surrounded by Marines, I think, with guns, and the Mads crew is also using guns, like, and we see Vegapunk looking really gangster, except for the fact that he has a huge head and a huge forehead. But yeah, we see them like with guns and stuff. So it's cool to know that Vegapunk isn't sort of this only goofy guy, like maybe because he's older now, but when he was younger, he's a punk, right? Vegapunk. Okay, besides that, let's get right into it. um we basically pick up from the previous chapter of Lucci fighting Luffy, and Lucci uh injuring Sentomaru like really badly, right? And we get to see Lucci now in this chapter. We get to see Lucci rushing over to Sentomaru and apologizing for like distracting him, right? And Sentomaru uh, says to not underestimate him because he saw the attack and he thought he blocked it, but I guess not. So then Lucci basically he says a bunch of things, but all in all, it was more like no hard feelings, but we need to get rid of you so that we can control the Seraphim, right? Because obviously they need more firepower in order to fight the freaking Straw Hats. So yeah, we get to see Luffy using his new move, and I guess he's gonna use a couple of new moves in this chapter, but I guess his new line of moves would be Gomu Gomu no Booming White something. So now his first attack that we see him using against Lucci is Booming White Whip, and he basically he kind of looks like Taz, from Looney Tunes, that Tasmanian devil, and he basically spins around, and it looks like he's using his legs to attack Lucci, but I'm not so sure. But basically, he spins around, and he sends Lucci flying off. And yeah, it's funny because the whole chapter there will be a lot of times, a lot of goofy moments where Luffy is fighting, and you can really see the Toon Force sort of thing, right? So that's crazy cool. But anyway, he sends Lucci flying, and then we get to see Chopper in his Kung Fu point, and Jinbei carrying Atlas, and Jinbei's basically hurrying Luffy to, like follow them because they need to get to the vacuum rocket, right? To get to the lab so that they can meet up with the crew and then get out of this island, right? So then Luffy says that he spun too hard, and he's like sort of drilling a hole, right? yeah, he's like drilling a hole so he goes underground, and yeah, that's pretty funny, and you'll see a continuation of that sort of thing. So then we cut to, S Shark and S Hawk. Uh, and we get to see them actually fighting the Cypherpole grunts. And Kaku mentions that um, they're pretty much unstoppable and they still lose even if they manage to destroy the Seraphim. And Stasi also mentions that it's terrifying because they're only just kids right now. Crazy, right? Anyway, we cut to Vegapunk's lab where we see Frankie crying, right? Because he did in fact notice and get it correct with the fact that S Shark has the swim fruit from Senor Pink. This time I remember his name. I forgot his name like in the previous episode. But yeah, he's crying over that because, I mean, anybody would have this preconceived notion that there can only be the devil fruit, that one devil fruit, like in the whole world at one time, right? So since S Shark has it, Senor Ping must have died, right? But no. Apparently, Vegapunk mentions that Senor Pink is currently in Impel Down and that it's possible to artificially recreate, or rather, it's only possible to artificially recreate Zoan fruits, although he doesn't know if artificially created fruits could be awakened. But yeah, he says that Zoan fruits are the only ones that could be artificially recreated. Or rather can be. And Logia fruits were trickier than he expected, but Paramecia fruits, apparently, instead of creating the fruits, he collected the blood of Paramecia users. I mean, obviously Paramecia users, they're affected in their blood, right? I mean, obvious example would have been Luffy if we were talking about previously when he wasn't confirmed to be a Zoan. Okay, I'm actually not so sure, but more or less he gathered the blood of these Paramecia users and he practically made his own blood, which is the green blood that's flowing in the Seraphim, right? That's why they have all this power, Swim fruit, Boa's fruit, and Kuma's fruit, right? And obviously Frankie's shocked because, I mean, he created blood. I mean, it's green blood, yes, but he created blood. Crazy, right? So after that, we see basically we get to see S Snake and S Bear just attacking with their fruit abilities, right? S Snake being Boa's fruit and S Bear being Kuma's fruit, right? And Vegapunk mentions that the Seraphim are basically this amalgamation of all his ideas, and that the Seraphim might in fact be the most powerful beings in history in the sea. So yeah, that's basically talking about the title, right? So the Seraphim are practically the most powerful beings, and the fact that they're still kids, right? So then let me see. Yeah, then the Straw Hats are all reacting with different emotions, Frankie's stars in his eyes. You guys didn't hear anything, but Frankie is reacting with stars in his eyes. Nami and Usopp and basically the rest of the crew are like, that's pretty much irresponsible, and that they're gonna pose a threat to the Straw Hats because of how they're so powerful, right? And we get back to Lucci again, which he came out of a wall, and it was super Looney Tunes-esque. It was kind of like, Roadrunner and the Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, is he called that? But yeah, when he runs into, let's say, a mountain wall, right? And then it has his, like, sort of hole that's specifically, like, formed to the body. So yeah, we see Lucci coming out of that hole. Then he uses his Soru move to, get to Sentomaru, right? Because he needs to get rid of him so that they can control the Seraphim. Then remember I was talking about how Luffy couldn't stop himself from, like, drilling underground. He came up from underground with a giant head, like a truly giant head. And I assume he wanted to swallow or bite down on Lucci, but Lucci evades it and he bites down on the ground. Lucci then starts to chew it before spitting the rubble towards Lucci and basically making some sort of gunfire, right? So Lucci, being Lucci, he just like punches the rubble away, and not for long. He was using I think he was using it as sort of a distraction, because then we see Luffy on a tube of sorts, sort of transport tube, right? And he uses it as a sort of like slingshot. So he goes there and he's Gomu Gomu no booming white. And then before he releases himself, he puts on sunglasses and then he's like, ding, like an effect. Very funny. But then he's like, Gomu Gomu no booming white. Then he flings himself as fast as possible. Booming white rocket. And then he, just like in the Kaido fight, he punches through Lucci's stomach. And instead of going through the skin or something, he just punches into it, like pushes it so far out. And of course, Lucci's like insane. Lucci gets insane damage, right? Because, I mean, Luffy's a freaking Yonko. And yeah, Lucci is basically getting wrecked. Or basically he got wrecked by Luffy, while Luffy is laughing at the side with barely any damage on him. And Lucci is like thinking to himself, oh, I can't hold on, my consciousness is fading. Luffy beat his freaking ass, even with Lucci's awakening. Freaking what? Of course you can't take on Yonko by yourself. I mean, even if Luffy did have help, he still beat Kaido. Like, how are you gonna freaking try to beat a Yonko by yourself? Are you crazy? I guess he is, right? He's too full of himself. Like, there's being confident and there's being delusional. Just because you have an awakening doesn't mean you can take on a freaking Yonko by yourself. Like, can you take on freaking Shanks by yourself? Blackbeard? But yeah, then we get to see Chopper and Jinbei rushing to the vacuum with Atlas on Jinbei's back. Did I mention that? Hopefully I did, but with Atlas on his back. And we see S-Snake, like, ushering them into the vacuum rocket. And Jinbei thanks her. And she basically goes full on tsundere mode, and she's like, she says that she's just following orders and stuff like that, and Sentomaru gives like a last message to Luffy, some sort, like saying that he trusts Luffy with Vegapunk's life, and Luffy replies saying that he'll get Vegapunk off this island no matter what. And yeah, Sentomaru's left behind, I guess. So then in the vacuum rocket, we see Luffy, Jinbei, Chopper, and Bonnie as well. Let's not forget her. And yeah, Bonnie just wakes up and she's shocked and she's like, "Who the heck's that old man?" And it turns out, I mean, the old man is Luffy, right? Because after his Gear 5th transformation previously as well, he also turned into an old man, right? So yeah, he's in old man mode now. Then very, very quickly they get to the lab. So in another part of the lab, before that, they get to the lab and the Frontier Dome has apparently been fortified, right? So we then see Cypher Pole with Lucci back in his human form with some sort of bandages. I mean, I don't know how he recovered that fast. I guess Zoan fruit users have like increased recovery time, but yeah, he's at least been dealt some damage. So we see Cypher Pole, and then we see Sentomaru on the ground, like very injured, unconscious, the Seraphim being controlled by Cypher Pole, which hopefully doesn't mean that Sentomaru is dead, because I kind of want to like see him more. But if he's truly dead, crazy. I'm not gonna complain. That's actually a crazy move by, Oda, if he actually dies, because he's important, but he didn't have like a very important role, So if he kills him off, if Oda kills him off, then wow, damn, the tone changes, like not completely, but it changes a lot. The tone changes a lot, despite having the Looney Tunes stuff, right? But anyway, we see the Cypher Pole controlling the Seraphim now. Sentomaru on the ground unconscious, I think. And yeah, that's about it. And Cypher Pole mentions that they're not gonna let these rats escape. I don't know why they're calling them rats, but whatever. Don't let these rats escape, block all the exits off. Then we see the Straw Hats they see the Straw Hats. We get to see the Straw Hats, which are in the part of the lab with, Usopp's group and Vegapunk, and they're basically excited because they want to take, or not that they want to take, but some are shocked, some are excited that Vegapunk's joining them on their ship, and of course Frankie's like, "Wow!" Right? Then at the other part of the lab, which I assume it's still a walk away, because they didn't notice the groups didn't like get together instantly. So Chopper, Luffy, and Jinbei are like, wondering where to go next, right after the rocket transported them to the lab. Then Bonnie, we can see her with a pipe. I don't know what she's gonna do with the pipe, but she's holding some sort of pipe thing, and is like walking angrily towards somewhere. And she says that she's gonna find Vegapunk, so that he can change Kuma back into a human, and if he doesn't, then he's dead. So Bonnie's gonna do that. Then we cut to finally the last two panels, I think. We get to see Borsalino Kizaru. He appeared, and he's basically like, there was a question mark and a exclamation mark, but I think it was more of amusement rather than shock. He's like, because he says something along the lines of, like, oh, so Vegapunk decided to ally himself with the Straw Hat crew, right? So it seems to be, I mean, just because it's Kizaru, it's probably in amusement rather than shock. And then Kizaru mentions that it should be very easy, or it should be straightforward to, just get out of the island with the Straw Hat crew being a Yonko crew already, and Vegapunk being the smartest man alive, right? But he said, oh boy, if you think it's gonna be easy to escape, you're in for a big surprise. And he orders like warships, as many warships, to surround the island, which only calls for one thing, and one thing only: the friggin' Buster Call. So I think there's gonna be a Buster Call on Egghead. And I mean, rightfully so. Even if they manage to escape, they want to like hide all the evidence, all the technology, right? Even that ancient robot thing. So yeah, I think it's a Buster Call. And after that, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. So my thoughts on this were like, damn. Right before Christmas, we get a great chapter with a climax, and yeah, a very nice cliffhanger. Of course, I want to know what happens next, but it's very nice to end it off here because like the tension is there. It's like it's gonna boil over, and everything's gonna explode in one go in the next chapter, I think, because you have Cypher Pole on the island. We have the Straw Hats and Vegapunk trying to get away. We have the Navy and the Marines and the freaking Admiral in Kizaru, like, already there. He's reached. So, crazy chapter. I'm waiting to see what happens next. Luffy is a freaking beast. Lucci. Come on, man, Lucci. I mean, yeah, you've gotten stronger, but man, what are you trying to do here? Why are you trying to fight a Yonko all by yourself? I'm pretty sure even like Sanji, okay, maybe Sanji might have some trouble, but even Zoro could beat him like decently, like without much injury. Freaking Luffy though, try to attack Luffy, man, get out of here. Get out of here. But yeah, crazy chapter. I'm gonna rate it a 9 out of 10. Very good chapter before Christmas, and that's about it. I want to know more about the Mads, like science team, something like that, because that's very interesting. I think Queen was also a part of it, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, so I want to get to know more about the Mads. So, also looking at the S Snake, at least the Seraphim, she definitely had she had a personality, and that was very interesting. So I kind of want to see, more personality from the Seraphim instead of just being robots. I mean, we've already seen it with S Snake, right? So that's an interesting thing to watch out for next time. And what else? Oh yeah, the creation of devil fruits, right? So we know Zoans are the only ones that the fruits are able to like be created. That the Zoan fruits are the only ones that are able to be artificially created. Although we don't know about reawakening. No, we don't know about the awakening. If they can even be awakened, right? So maybe Momo's fruit. But then Momo's fruit was already a dragon. Model dragon, so maybe, I don't know, maybe he might be able to awaken it. Maybe he can't get into like some sort of dragon form. I don't know. Then we get to Logia fruit. Apparently it's trickier. And I mean, I guess it's trickier. I don't know. I'm not a One Piece scientist. And yeah, lastly is Paramecia stuff. I'm interested in how he created his own blood, also, and the fact that, you know, it's kind of confirmed he just took the blood from some Paramecia users and be able to use it, right? So at least we know he can't create Logia fruits. Imagine though, imagine. And I'm also waiting to see like what an awakened Logia would be. We've never really seen that, right? Yeah. Uh, and what would an awakened Quake fruit be, right? Like, yeah, what did Whitebeard's awakening look like? I mean, it should have, right? Then again, Roger didn't have nothing. He just had crazy haki and he was able to be the strongest person in the world. So even without awakening, yeah, I could see uh, Whitebeard just being a beast. Besides that, in the rest of the chapter, I guess Sentomaru isn't dead. And yeah, that's about it. 9 out of 10. I mean, not much to say. We get to see more story, more like explanations for devil fruits. We get to see more personalities. We get to see fighting, also new moves, crazy stuff. We get to see Borsalino appear. I mean, what more can I ask? I think what a 10 out of 10 would be for me. I don't know because I haven't seen it, but 9 out of 10 for chapter 1070, and that's all. So before I go, I just want to, you know, say have a Merry Christmas, guys, and a Happy New Year, you know. Yeah, hope you enjoy the holidays and hope you enjoy Christmas, which at least in Singapore it's coming in 2 days. So I wish you a Merry Christmas, and yeah, see you guys later. Oh my god, what am I doing?